All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And in this one, I wanted to give my little wish list for Call of Duty 2021. Now, we are about 4 months or so until the game releases. It releases in the middle of November, sometime in November every single year. So we are in the middle of July right now. So we're about 4 months or so before release. So it's getting closer to crunch time, closer to hopefully a beta and obviously a release and official information as opposed to the leaks. Granted, the leaks have been pretty legit over the last couple of years, so chances are they're pretty legit again this year. But granted, they come from the same sources. But yeah, I mean, I think it makes all the sense in the world to basically make a little wish list for Call of Duty 2021. Now, obviously, on anybody's top 2 or top 3 is to remove skill-based matchmaking or EOMM from pubs, but we all know that that's not going anywhere, so I left it out of this list because, quite frankly, it's an unrealistic wish at this point because it's not going anywhere. Activision is always going to keep it intact unless there's like unless a miracle happens or something like that. So that's not one of the things on the list. But I like to think I think these 10 things that I have on the list are pretty solid. And obviously we can compare and contrast. So let me know down in the comment section by the time this video is over. So always eager to see what you guys have to say. But let's get into the nitty gritty so we can go full in depth into this. So the first thing is theater mode. I want theater mode to come back. Now, obviously, I'm recording from theater mode right now. And the reason why you guys have been getting gameplay from theater mode is because this game is obviously meant to be played on next-gen consoles. On previous-gen consoles, I mean, you guys can give me your own experience, but my experience was absolute garbage on previous-gen consoles. I mean, if you don't have a solid PC, and if you're not fortunate enough to have a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, or maybe even I think on PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, I think the games should play pretty solid. But if you're on a last-gen console, you should at least be getting 60 frames, but I can assure you, you're not getting 60 frames. It may say 60 frames, but you're not getting 60 frames. And it really messes with the gameplay. One of the reasons why I'm playing this game so much right now is because it's literally night and day ever since I've gotten my Xbox Series X. The game is just meant to be played on next-gen consoles. So the thing is, I do not enjoy the experience specifically in this game. I can play older Call of Duties because they play at a legit 60 frames per second, stuff like that. I can play those and stream those, but at 60 frames and even at a lower resolution. But the problem is with this game, it just didn't play very well on previous gen consoles. So it was a make or break for me, honestly. So basically, and the thing is, it would cost me a lot of money in order for me to get a PC to where I can record with, like, let's say with the new Elgato 4K HD, because it's the only one that would allow for a pass-through of 120 hertz. So I could still record at 1080/60 and make videos, but I'd be able to play at 120 at the same time. And right now, I can't do that unless I spend money or unless there's theater mode or something like that, because I can always go back in theater and just, record from there. So I personally would love theater back. And of course, it helps with the cheats and stuff like that, but we all know how Activision handles that shit. But it's a little bit personal, but theater mode was the first thing on my list. So let's go on to the second one, to where we can all relate a hell of a lot more. And it kind of goes in with the first thing, and that's optimized cross-platform, cross-gen play. Now, it's going to be cross-gen. There's no doubt about it. The pandemic is not over, and people still have not acquired their next-gen consoles. And on top of that, it's also been a difficult financial situation for a lot of people lately because of the pandemic. So it's a lot harder for them to afford one as well. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be cross-platform, cross-gen, and I want the past-gen consoles to play at a solid 60 frames per second. That's the way Call of Duty has always been over the last 10 years, and the fact that it's not happening now, at least not on a consistent level, and with Black Ops Cold War, is an absolute disgrace to me. So I want every single player that plays Call of Duty multiplayer, just Call of Duty in general, to have the best experience possible. So if you're on last gen or on a weaker PC or whatnot, at least 60 frames per second, dude. And then obviously next gen consoles are going to be playing at 120 or even higher for those higher end PCs. So the next thing on my list, I have Dead Silence as a perk. Modern Warfare 2019 for me, let me tell you, I'd be playing a good amount of Modern Warfare 2019 if Dead Silence was a perk. I mean, one of the things that ruined the fun for me was the fact that I had to literally stop sprinting or stop moving or just slow the fuck down, whenever my Dead Silence field order field upgrade was gone. So, and it really just ruined it for me. And, you know, the maps and all that kind of stuff, I mean, those things you can counter. But the thing is, like, when the footsteps are that loud and people can hear you coming from a mile away as if you were a damn stampede, even though you're just one person, I mean, it eliminates, I mean, there's no skill in hearing somebody coming from a mile away. And you know, I want less realism. Let's put it that way. Less realism and more arcadey shooter, which is what COD is supposed to be. So please give us Dead Silence as a perk. It's going to make the gameplay a lot more balanced. And that is pretty much that. So moving on to the next one. My goodness, please, for the love of God, nerf the snipers. In this game, snipers are an all-weapon class into one. It's basically, snipers are basically like one-man army, but for weapons, basically. I mean, you can hip fire with them, and they'll basically be like a shotgun. You can rush with them, and they'll drop you faster than any other gun in the game. You can be putting bullets into them, and then wham bam, you're dead. So seriously, and they're easier to use now more than ever. There's at least a handful of pomages in every single lobby. Simple as that. So let's nerf the snipers. Let's not make them maybe not as difficult as they were in Black Ops 3. But seriously, like, if people want to be doing the things that they're doing in this game, like, at least make it to where they have to at least be challenged and skillful to do so. So yeah, please nerf the snipers. Next one, next punishing attachment system for create a class. So we all know we have the pros and cons in both Modern Warfare 2019 as well as this game. But so one of the things that really gets to me is that how much they've nerfed strafe shooting for what's it called, for assault rifles. And I understand why, but at the same time, it's a little too punishing to where, you know, you basically are not either strafe shooting fast enough in some cases, not in all cases, but in some cases, you know, to where the stock attachment punishes you in different ways, like where the recoil goes insane, or your ADS time is so slow to where anybody can take you out. That specifically for me is the thing. So, and for me personally, also the fact that in Cold War, one of the things that kind of upset me was the fact that the bullet, like, for the most part, not in every case, but for the most part, you know, you need to have like the bullet velocity attachment or a form of the bullet velocity attachment that gives you increased bullet velocity, whether it's at 100% or just 40 or 50%, depending on the attachment itself and its pros and cons. The fact that bullet velocity is basically kind of like lag or no lag. Like, if you don't have bullet velocity equipped in certain weapons, it's like having lag. So it's like, I think they need to get rid of that. So, and you know, they don't really need to add so many things. It's kind of ridiculous at this point. So something that's a little bit better in terms of, and less punishing, in my opinion, any attachment you get on your weapon should just make your gun better. Simple as that. So let's go back to basics on that. So, and at the same time, it would give a lot of players a lot more options and different ways to play with their gun. If every single attachment is good, then it's like we can use multiple different kind of combinations as opposed to using the same old thing. So, and since we've been pretty much using the same old thing, regardless of the way they implement create a class, and it's like, okay, well, let's just go back to basics. Why change something that wasn't broken in the first place? So, yeah, that's my other one for that. And the next one, the streak system needs to change. Right now, the way I have my streak system set up is I usually reserve my hand cannon for when a good player or just a player calls in their attack helicopter in. Wham, bam, 2 shots and it's down. So, and if they don't call something in, then obviously I would use my hand cannon towards the very end of the match. But the way I have everything set up is to basically stop the streaks from getting kills that they really don't deserve. What is wrong with people's streak resetting to 0 when they die? That was never really a problem. They started doing the support thing back in Modern Warfare 3, but basically at this point, it's nothing but support in here, and I really don't agree with that. And Call of Duty it's so much easier in Call of Duty to get a kill than a lot of other first-person shooters out there, like for instance, than Halo. So it's like, anybody, whether you're a noob or not, can get their UAV or the counter UAV. I mean, they may not be able to get it as consistently if they're a bad player, but again, you guys have implemented skill-based matchmaking. So it's like, let's go back to the streak system that basically resets your streaks upon dying. Okay. So anyway, yeah, definitely need to go back to that. Let's see. Next one, solid maps. If you've got good gameplay and if you got people that, if you have a system that is balanced, the maps are only going to complement that. And if you don't have good maps, it's going to kill your game. So I want solid maps. Again, they don't have to be perfect, but they got to be solid. So solid maps would be nice. And moving on to the next one, that kind of has something to do with what I mentioned: more fresh content and less map remasters or brought back. I mean, you can like, for instance, let's say we have 3 maps per season. You know, you can give us 1 remastered and then 2 new ones or something like that. That would make a hell of a lot more sense. And I think a lot of players would it would keep the game lasting a lot longer, because the game would be a lot more fresh with fresh new content. And at the same time, it also gives a chance for those new maps that you've created as developers to come back in the future for new remasters, because remasters you can only use for so long before people go all nuts. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Firing Range, I love Raid, I love Standoff, I love Hijacked, but at the same time, with Call of Duty, we don't want to feel like we're playing a replica of the same Call of Duty. I mean, some people will say Call of Duty is the same every year. The answer to that is yes and no. So it's the little things that count, and one of those little things just happen to be the maps. As a matter of fact, it is a big thing, but one new map that is fairly solid goes a long way. So more fresh content, less map remasters. Wham bam. All right, the next one: no participation trophies in competitive league play. So I mean, from what I understand, people are basically getting like, everybody's able to make like platinum or whatever the hell it is, the highest tier, master, or whatever the hell it's called in this game, so just by playing a lot, regardless of wins and losses. So it should always be about wins and losses. And from what I understand, Black Ops 2 is a gold standard, as well as the World War II league play system. So maybe we can do a hybrid of both. Who knows? So no participation trophies in competitive league play. And the last thing on my list is to bring back headquarters. Especially with the implementation of Warzone, I think headquarters is something that could really shine. And as well as, I'm sure they've gotten a lot of feedback from World War II. I know when headquarters first launched, it was buggy and shit like that. But after it was fixed or whatnot, it was pretty solid. It was a good idea. And I think they are in a very, excuse me, I think they're in a very good position to where they can basically, we can have a headquarters 2.0, and Warzone can have their own headquarters, and so can the multiplayer people. So, and they can really make things interesting that way. So headquarters, again, not a bad thing. I think it's one of the original things that Sledgehammer Games came up with that was a welcome addition. And if implemented correctly, I think it could add flavor to the game as opposed to make it boring. So, but that's it. That is my top 10 list. So let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I hope you enjoyed this gameplay and the commentary, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.